If we can't get along with Canada, who can we get along with? In a striking critique, Mike Quigley sounds the alarm on America's global relationships, raising serious questions about isolationism, alliances, and the future of U.S. leadership on the world stage.
Thank you so very much. Anybody else would like to be recognized? Mr. Quigley, you're recognized, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now, I know most of you traveled with many of you. Mr. Edwards and I traveled to Ukraine in a most enlightening trip. Mr. Chairman, you and I have been to Poland, to the islands, Dominican, across the world. I'm starting to think that we are witnessing the same things, but we're seeing something different. We all grew up with the notion of, I'll believe it when I see it. I'm starting to think it's now, I'll see it when I believe it. That we react so differently to what's happening here that it's almost frightening. So I think the sense of isolationism, the cooling and withdrawal from NATO, the issues with USAID, which have already been pointed out, tariffing our friends. Canadian tourism to the United States has just plummeted in Chicago and everywhere. If we can't get along with Canada, who are we going to get along with? And I'm sure the people of Ukraine don't feel particularly warm and fuzzy with us. So maybe it's time to look back at someone who had the greatest perspective of understanding our place in the world when it mattered most. And my favorite presidential speeches were always the shortest ones, right? Lincoln at Gettysburg. Who remembers who Edward Everett was, because he spoke for 2 hours there. But FDR's last inaugural was at the White House at the South Portico, and he only spoke for 6 minutes, 556 words. But I think he captured the essence of this moment as well as he captured the essence of that time and all he had been through with the isolationist. He reminded us that we have learned that we can't live alone at peace, and that our own well-being is dependent on the well-being of other nations far away. We must live as men, not ostriches, and that we have learned to be citizens of the world, members of the human community. And finally, he quoted Emerson by saying, "The only way to have a friend is to be one." I'm not sure we have many friends. Having served on the Intel Committee for 9 years now, I will tell you the smallest countries in the world are invaluable to us, and that synergy, that relationship is so important. While seemingly unimportant when we think of, well, we're going to prioritize each of these dollars, we remember what Secretary Mattis said, if you cut the State Department, you better buy me more bullets. I don't think we can buy enough bullets to keep ourselves safe if we are indeed ostriches in the world. Thank you.
This moment from Representative Mike Quigley isn't just political criticism. It's a deeper reflection on how the United States sees itself in the world today. At the center of his argument is a shift in perception. He describes moving from the old saying, "I'll believe it when I see it," to something far more concerning. "I'll see it when I believe it." That reversal suggests that people are no longer interpreting global events objectively. Instead, they're filtering reality through political beliefs first. And that, he argues, is dangerous. Quigley then connects this mindset to foreign policy decisions. He points to what he sees as a trend toward isolationism, a pullback from international cooperation and alliances that historically defined U.S. global leadership. Specifically, he mentions tensions with NATO, strained diplomatic ties, and economic measures like tariffs placed even on close allies. But the most striking line is his reference to Canada. Canada isn't just another country. It's one of America's closest allies geographically, economically, and culturally. So when Quigley says, if we can't get along with Canada, he's not just talking about one relationship, he's raising a symbolic concern. If tensions exist with such a close partner, what does that say about relationships with more distant or complex nations? He also highlights real-world impacts, like the drop in Canadian tourism to cities like Chicago. That detail grounds the argument in everyday consequences, not just abstract diplomacy, but economic and social ripple effects that affect local communities. Another key part of his argument is historical perspective. Quigley references Abraham Lincoln and Franklin D. Roosevelt, two leaders who faced defining global challenges. By invoking Lincoln's Gettysburg Address and Roosevelt's final inaugural speech, he's reminding listeners that America has navigated moments of uncertainty before, but did so with a clear sense of purpose and global responsibility. Roosevelt, in particular, dealt directly with isolationist pressures before World War II. His leadership marked a turning point where the U.S. chose engagement over withdrawal. Quigley seems to suggest that the country may now be at a similar crossroads again.